And welcome to another episode of the Adman and Tom on the Crawford Podcasting Network. Steve Adler, MSU alumnus, proud of that Spartan team. They bounced back from that dastardly loss to the Boilermakers and pretty much workmanlike, took care of Maryland 40-21. Not really nervous at any time. Were you, Stevie Adler, sitting in there at Sparty Stadium?
It was still technically. I didn't go to the game, believe it or not. I did not.
Really?
Had it out. Yeah, my wife couldn't go at the last minute, and I just didn't feel like trying to rustle someone up at the last minute to sit out in that weather. So yeah,
I get it.
Maybe I'm getting old and soft. Maybe Mel needs to lecture me the way he lectured the students after the game.
Wow, he's lecturing everybody. I mean, he was in a surly mood. And actually, when someone referred to Michigan, one of the media guys, he said, "You mean school down south?
Yeah, school down the road or whatever."
School down the road or whatever." So he's kind of doing the D'Antonio bullshit, but that's all right. That's cool. That's what gets his rocks off. Fine. That's that and probably at $8.9 million, whatever the contract is he has coming in Michigan.
I'll tell you what, how he gets his rocks off, beating your punk ass.
Yeah, baby. Let's stir it up, and Michigan State's going to have to stir it up at noon, a nooner on Saturday against Ohio State. Before we get into that game, and I think we're all looking forward to that game because this is like Judgement, for Michigan State coming up here, Judgement Saturday, whatever you want to call it. Quick reflection on the Maryland game. Again, two back-to-back game combined. Purdue and Maryland, your defense has given up over 900 total yards. Does it concern you, or just have your offense outscore the opposition?
That's what it has to be. You find a way to win. Some years Michigan State won 14-10.
Mm-hmm.
Some years we got to win 40 to whatever.
Right.
It's not ideal. Like Mel says, he hates the term shootout, doesn't want to deal with that. But listen, this game was so vital for Michigan State. Maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. I don't know. But you lost to Purdue on the road. That's not the end of the world. But this thing could have spiraled and turned what is still hoping to be a really special season into just a pretty good season. You lose the Maryland game, which is tricky. Let's say you lose that. Now you got the Buckeyes. That's a tough task. And now you're down to the last game to avoid an 0-4 finish. So that the team responded. The defense, did their usual bend but don't break at the end.
He didn't like that term either, by the way. Mel Tucker didn't like. He didn't like a lot of things.
Yeah, Mel must not be happy with me skipping the game and using these terms he doesn't like. But
yeah.
It was a big win, even though it may not have looked like some sort of banner win against a blue blood program. But it was an important win for Michigan State.
No, I agree, and this is no style points. Well, but 19 points is fine.
Yeah.
I thought Maryland moved the ball and could have put more stress on Michigan State's situation in terms of winning versus losing. Had they not turned the ball, they had a first and goal at the one. They got nothing. Michigan State made a play. That's making plays. So that's cool.
You talking the interception?
No, well, yeah, no, that sack, and then there was a couple of times they were down. I mean, Maryland's pretty good offensively. Yeah. They can throw the ball.
Noah Harvey.
Or whatever the hell. I can't call him Tua like I call his brother. I just got to deal with his last name.
We just call him Tua's brother. But
his brother.
Noah Harvey with a huge pick.
Yeah, that was big.
I'm so happy for this guy who lost his starting job.
That flipped the game. I mean, that put the game on ice. I'll just say that. Put the game on ice.
That was a big pick. But also what killed Maryland was the intentional groundings. It's like, have they never heard of that rule before?
Oh, my God. Unbelievable. Twice, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. So
crazy.
Michigan State, listen, the front four just can't seem to get pressure.
No, they can't.
They were earlier in the season, but lately, they're injuries and different guys in there. So Michigan State has had to rely on the blitz. And they better rely on the blitz against Ohio State, because if you give Stroud all day back there, he's going to throw for 700 yards with those wide receivers. So I get it that it's a roll of the dice, but better than
you got to
put pressure on this.
You got to go on fourth downs. If you're from the 35, you're on 35 on. If it's fourth and short, you got to go for it. You can't give it back to Ohio State. Michigan State's defense is just not very good. I mean, let's just say it. You know, well, what are they ranked 130th or something? I mean, in pass defense, it's crazy.
Yeah, let's be clear here. The pass defense, the run defense is fine.
Yeah, but Ohio State has some pretty talented. It's going to be a dry field, and they have some pretty talented wide receivers. C.J. Stroud's pretty good quarterback. I'm just saying you got to put some pressure on him. And the same thing with Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne is really good if you like any other quarterback, but if they don't protect him, he's going to be in for a long afternoon.
Yeah. Hang on a second.
Yeah, that's all right. I understand it. Do what you got to do. I'll pontificate here if you have to let the dog outside. Hey, that's what real time of podcasting here on the Crawford Podcasting Network. The Adman and Tom, we're on our third year. Listen, I'm running clock right here. With Steve Adler, and we have a lot of fun with it. And my God, we got football, and then we got basketball just around the corner. Both teams. Michigan in particular, the Wolverines are ranked 6th. So I'm just going to jump in and talk Michigan until he gets back. Michigan ranked 6th in football, 6th in basketball, I think number 3 in hockey. They have one of the most dominating athletic programs in the entire country. The only thing that Michigan is missing is getting to Indianapolis. So who do we have here? Is this who? Jude. Like, hey, Jude.
Hey, Jude.
Were you a Beatles fan?
The breeders were.
Well,
all of their puppies were named after Beatles songs.
I was a Beatles fan of 64. You weren't born.
Correct.
But when it got in the late 60s, I went to the Monkees.
You wanted the Love Me Do Beatles. You didn't want Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
I wanted to be Peter Tork. They have long hair.
You didn't want the psychedelics. You wanted the pop sensibilities.
Yeah, and living in a house and going down spiral staircases, and having your own TV show. I thought that was just the cat's meow.
Yeah, he wants to run.
Okay, so back to Michigan State. Speedy Naylor, his health. Do you have any idea of the status of some of these critical guys? It's like Michigan, you don't hear anything, right?
What does Mel say? He'll be ready when he's ready. There's no indication. None.
Yeah.
Don't know about anybody. I don't know if Coughlin's going to be kicking. He kicked most of the extra points.
What the hell happened to Coughlin?
Another one. Who knows? I think he was warming up against Purdue and stretching, and he pulled something, I think.
Did he pull a hammy squatting down to propose to his fiancée? We saw earlier in the week.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his deal is, but as fans, we have no idea, which I think is the way most programs deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you don't want to give. This is what Jim Harbaugh says. That's what everybody says. Why would I give my opponent? Actually, Mel Tucker says, why would I give my opponent the advantage of knowing what my personnel is when I don't have to?
Yeah.
And there's privacy issues as well that dovetails into it and makes it handy. So anyway, let's fast forward Ohio State game. We've cleared up Maryland. Let's just be real. Ohio State is a 20-point favorite. We talked off the air about this thing. It's like, I can envision both things happening. I can envision Ohio State rolling, which would obviously allow me to breathe easier and get Michigan in position to make a run at the division title. Or I can see, maybe not as viable, but I can still see it because I've been there. Michigan State hanging around the chicken coop like they do. Maybe get a couple of turnovers. Maybe they're effectively running the football.
Yeah.
And they're into the third quarter, and it's a 1-score game. And then all of a sudden, Ohio State start thinking about it. The fans will get a lot uneasy, and then you got a perfect formula for an upset. What's your vision? I know what your hope is, but what is your realistic vision?
Probably somewhere in between there, if I'm being honest. Not the blowout, but not quite the hanging around one score back. I'd love to be hanging around at halftime. This is a showcase for Mel. This is a showcase for Kenneth Walker, Peyton Thorne, Jaden Reed, all those guys. for those of us that care about the Heisman at this stage, I mean, in my lifetime, other than Lorenzo, but even he wasn't really a serious candidate.
He was there. He was a third. He was a third,
but he was never really thought to be like he might win it.
Right.
This is the first time, and so
I get it.
Selfishly, it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with me, but I'm hoping Michigan State can at least keep it close. And Walker has a big day, breaks a couple tackles, puts on some of those moves. He's breaking some ankles. So worst case scenario for me, I'm hoping is, 13-point loss. Kenneth Walker goes off and has a nice day, and people are raving about it.
And you'd be happy about that.
I wouldn't be happy, but I'm saying I'm trying to be realistic about it. But hey, as we've talked about many times, I was there in the monsoon with Tyler O'Connor, and Damian Terry against all odds.
Damian Terry. Wow.
Damian Terry.
What was that? 2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wowie has trouble with the snap year. So that's the year I try to forget, 2015.
Right. So, hey, Michigan State going into that game. I mean, going in with Connor Cook, with a healthy Connor Cook, it would have been would have been, I'm guessing, 13-point dog. But then when he went down, it was like, wow, this is going to be real ugly.
Right.
And then they pulled a miracle. And they've done it, obviously, many times against Ohio State. Enough that if you're an Ohio State fan, you got to look at Michigan State and go, God, these guys they kill us about every so often, right? 98, you go back to 74, I believe.
Yeah, 74, 16-13. There's been a couple. Yeah, the thing of it is that 15 team had a defense. I mean, at all three levels.
Yeah.
And this team has a secondary that is an absolute sieve for a lot of reasons. First of all, they're young. Secondly, they're banged up, and some of them aren't very good. So you got a combination of those three. And that's what obviously Mel Tucker will probably address with a portal or with flat-out recruiting, which he's doing very well, by the way. People don't realize Michigan State right now, at least on Rivals.com, which I've been affiliated with, 14th in the nation, which is really good for them. Michigan is like 16th, which is bad for them. So I mean, it's good. It's looking good for Michigan State. Regardless, I agree though. I think that if you would lose this game, which I think you will, and if you happen to lose the Penn State game, which I don't think you will, but if you ended up 9-3 in the regular season, based on how you're sitting at 8-0, I think there would be some level of disappointment, at least in terms of the ending for the season for most Michigan State fans.
Yeah. At this stage, Michigan State's got to go 10-2.
Right.
10-2 has got to be the worst they go. Penn State's vulnerable. They didn't impress me the other day against you guys. A nice solid win on the road, but not some earth-shattering win, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute.
We will in a minute.
They have the worst coach in the Big Ten. I mean, Franklin is just a freaking train wreck. And but at this stage, Michigan State's got to go 10-2 because otherwise it's a little bit. I mean, it's better than the 0-4 we talked about, but 1-3 down the stretch isn't that much better. They got to go, 2-2 down the stretch, which means hang close against Ohio State, beat Penn State, 10-2, Peach Bowl,
win your bowl game. And I'm saying this from a team that loses bowl games.
Every year.
6 of the last 7 years, or 5 of the 6, whatever that 6 of the last 7 years, whatever it is. Okay, you got to win your freaking bowl game. I mean, I cannot emphasize enough winning the bowl game, and that means players can't sit out and all that other crap.
Yeah, you're a relic though with the bowl game because the modern thought I think is it doesn't matter as much unless you're in the playoff. So that's what happens. These guys go, I'm going to sit this out. I don't want to take a chance of injury.
Well, you know what? Then you're a quitter because you're quitting on your team.
Well,
how about those other players putting all that work in? This is what don't get me started on opting out of bowl games. It's not opt out. It's quitting. That's my theory.
I'm not debating you on it. I'm just saying what the common, the natural thought process is. At some point, it became acceptable to sit out the bowl game.
No, I know.
And that's a shame.
And actually, that started in 16. And actually, well, I won't go there. Anyway, so Michigan, did you watch the game?
I watched the second half.
Were you disappointed in the outcome?
Of course.
Were you swearing at the television?
The only thing I was swearing at was, well, I didn't see the fake field goal. You know what happened? They were on like the 2, Penn State, and they faked, you know what happened?
yeah.
Right. I didn't.
They had a fake punt that worked, though. I mean, so they did.
Okay.
They fake, fake, just like Elaine and Seinfeld. But some worked, some didn't. Right.
Seinfeld, nice work. What bothered me was when you play Michigan, they're going to the tight end in a big situation.
Well, they haven't until lately.
No, but look at against Michigan State, how often they went to.
That was, but you haven't seen the first half of the season. That was all the complaint. They finally incorporated the tight end. And Eric All, that was the coming out party for the tight end position was the Michigan State game.
Right. But what I'm saying is now moving forward, you had to expect it. And, Michigan thinks they're all tricky, and I guess it works. So I guess, but we're going to send all the receivers to the left, and then the slow drag right end to the right.
You know what? Where they got that from? That's Ohio State with the rub routes.
Yeah. And I'm like, come on, Penn State. You had to expect that. The guy was wide open. It kind of reminded me of the Trayvon Pendleton, not a tight end. But remember when he did that to you guys in
but I'm telling you what, you're very similar, but I'm telling you, Eric All has some speed that I didn't realize he had. He was motoring. He hit the edge on that, and he was flying. I mean, that crap field, natural turf. I'm not a big fan of, like your field. And there was dust. Coming out of his feet. You saw that. It looked like it was nasty. Anyway, they won the game. I thought, for Michigan, other people might not think this is a great win, but it is for Michigan. Because they struggle on the road, and they've beaten Wisconsin on the road, and they've beaten Penn State on the road, and for them, that's a good thing because they're a home-centric team, if you will. Yeah. They've struggled with this. They got it done, and at least they're viable going into the last 2 weeks. In particular, if they can just get by Maryland, which I'm not assuming anything in life. I never do assume anything in life. If they get by Maryland, they can go into that Ohio State game where their fans know sitting in there, they have something big if they pull this thing out of their ass and beat Ohio State. And of all the years, this would be the year, the best chance thereof, in my estimation, in 10 years, which says a lot.
Let me speak from an outside Michigan perspective, at least my own perspective. I think and this may sound cruel, but
of course it will.
But just bear with me here. I think one of the best things that happened to you guys was Blake Corum going down. Because Hassan Haskins is so good and he runs with such purpose.
Yeah.
I think your offense works better with him.
Workload. Interesting point. I go back once again in the old days. Touchdown Billy Taylor, 30 carries. I mean, you look at Ricky Bell, you look at Tony Dorsett. You look at Jim Brown, Cleveland Browns, he would get better for every carry when he went from carries number 20 to 30. This is what Hassan Haskins does. He gets better. He gets in a rhythm. And Blake Corum, he had the Michigan State game, which was a terrible game for him on a personal level. Then he turned his ankle early in the IU game. I don't think he's not going to be back for Maryland game. But there's something to be said for that about, getting, into that, having Haskins get into the flow. I totally agree with you on that. I think that's a good point. Cade McNamara, workman-like, but he threw a couple of ropes, I thought. Precision passes to Roman Wilson. I thought that was big. Michigan is just not, a splash team offensively. Their defense with that. They're too tight. Their two DNs are, David Ajabo and obviously Aiden Hutchinson. Those are generational tandems to have two DNs. I can't remember Michigan having that in a long, long time. It's got to go back a couple decades to have that much potency at DN. And that's what you need to do to discombobulate an Ohio State. So that's what I'm banking on. But just the fact that they're in the hunt is refreshing because the last couple of years they weren't even in the hunt going into the Ohio State game.
Your team, from an outsider standpoint, seems to be kind of a no-nonsense, non-flashy.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to regret saying this because I don't mean it fully, so don't take what I'm saying here. Somewhat reminiscent of 97. in that your offense is kind of boring.
Yeah, that's good.
Your defense, although this defense isn't as good as the 97 team,
Right.
but it's good. It kind of has that, like you look up and Michigan just kind of, a lot of these games, it's kind of boring scores and they find a way to win. And, there's, you look at the stats and you go, like not that great really, but they won. So
they had 3 plays in the first quarter, Stevie. 3, they were out there, or I take it back, 6 plays. 6 plays in the first quarter, 6 snaps. Penn State had 33 snaps.
Wow.
I mean, they got a slow start out of the gate. You can't do that and expect to win against good. Can't do that against Ohio State. They got against Ohio State. Once again, getting ahead of myself. They got to jump on it early and get them lathered up. Tonight, again, irrelevant Tuesday night. Well, I'll be down in the Seton Hall game, Michigan basketball. And we'll talk about, for our folks out there, I know we're a dual sport here. Michigan State are both great in football and basketball. We're going to get more into that once we get through this core regular season.
Yeah.
But going down to a 9:00 tip against the Hall, rematch of the 89 game. So, the crowd's cheering already. That's going to be fun. But, this game this week, should I be scared about Maryland? Michigan.
Well, it's at Maryland, so anytime you're on the road, it adds another little level of worry,
anxiety. Yeah,
right. Just because it's tough to win on the road, things go wrong, things are unfamiliar. I would blitz the hell out of Tua's brother.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe your team doesn't need to because you got the defensive ends, but he crumbles under pressure. But if he has time to throw, he'll pick you apart.
Yeah.
So. I mean, I think Michigan's obviously going to do that. They see what's going on with him, so they'll pressure him, and they'll force him into some turnovers and maybe some more intentional groundings. So I think you guys will be fine.
But you know what? The other thing I was going to mention about tonight, besides the basketball game, and Michigan State plays. They're going down. They're at in the Bahamas. They're going to take on Loyola of Chicago. Drew Valentine. I think that's Wednesday night. My memory serves me right. Bahamas, that's not a bad place to hang out. Is this CFP thing tonight, which is even more irrelevant than before. I mean, Michigan State, they don't care. They shouldn't care how they're ranked because, Michigan State shouldn't care because they run out. They win out. They're in. Michigan has to have, in my estimation, to get in, win the rest of their games. These next 3 games, I'm talking about the Big Ten title game, but they have to have Michigan State get a second loss.
Right. Yeah. Because obviously we got the title.
And I'm not, it's got to happen Saturday. I mean, if Michigan State beats Ohio State, I think there's going to be a lot of nervous Michigan fans that, we could have this 11-1 season and not get into the CFP, including with a win over Ohio State, because Ohio State will be discredited a tad, obviously, if they lose to Michigan State.
Let me tell you a little fantasy I have.
Oh, yeah. I know you're a man of fantasies. Yes.
Spartan perspective. To ruin the game by beating both you and Ohio State, taking a little luster off that game by
absolutely
that would just be just fantastic from a green and white perspective.
Oh, of course it would. It would be like a double win. It would be like, Stevie, it would be like you won 2 games.
Yeah.
You not only enhanced your own chances, and you got Penn State at home. Wisconsin haven't played this year. It's not like, Michigan's got to play Wisconsin. They have to beat them a second time, which I think is a challenge. But you stuck it to that school down the road, as you evidently referred to. That would be, you're right. That would be awesome for you. It would be a bad day on Saturday for me.
It would be. Look, it puts Michigan State back in the top 4.
Yeah.
It ruins the next weekend for you guys because even if you win, it's not quite as.
Oh my God, we beat you. We beat them down at the shoe.
Yeah.
You should definitely beat them up at the Big House.
Yeah.
I mean, I can already hear the narrative going into the game.
Yeah, you stolen my line. Hey, come on, we went down to Columbus.
Like what?
Hey, come on,
where's the challenge here? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Hey, if anybody can beat them at home, you got to go on the road to beat Ohio State. So
yeah, well,
we'll see if I'm dreaming. But I'm hoping, despite the fact I'm calling for a somewhat close loss, obviously I'm hoping they kind of hang around. And hey, if you hang around, you got Kenneth Walker and you got Jaden Reed and those guys. If the defense can do anything, it's possible.
Okay. To wrap things up, I'm going to give you 2 scores. The Michigan game in College Park, Maryland was the second game. I'll start with that one. 31-13, Michigan. I don't feel they're going to get threatened in this game where you're pacing around the room. I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
The big one at noon up down at the shoe, Ohio State hosting Michigan State. I see a 45-21. 45-21 Ohio State. 24-point win for the Bucks.
I think I have Michigan 30, Maryland 17.
Okay.
Also, comfortable, keep them at arm's length. And then I have Ohio State 42, Michigan State 31, 11.
Whoa! Woo!
Hanging around.
A shootout.
Well, I mean, hey, if Michigan State can hold Ohio State to 42, I think that's probably pretty good, assuming the weather's good. So 42-31. Give Kenneth Walker 160 yards, a couple of TDs. With game day being there, there goes my dog again, right on cue.
That's all right. We're wrapping things up, but that's fine.
But he's going to have, obviously, with game day, there's going to be some sort of a profile on him, I have to believe. So this is another game on the big stage. He's my Spartan dog.
Right. DAWG. All right, Stevie. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the games on Saturday. I hope they come out the way I want them to and not the way you want them to. But hey, we don't have any control over it, so let's just hope they're respective best of what we want and go from there.
Should be another good one, Tommy. Go Green.
All right. Until next week, it's the Cover Podcasting Network, the Ad Man in Time. We'll talk to you next week.